Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into an incredibly interesting set of sources. They're all centered around this seemingly simple title. Beginner S1 Tag 7, who's our cute new Indonesian coworker.
Right. And you might think, okay, language lesson. Basic stuff.
Exactly. But what you're about to discover is how this deep dive offers a brilliant shortcut. It helps you understand much more than just words.
Yeah, it's really a window into Indonesian language, culture, and even like the dynamics of their workforce.
Totally. So our mission here is to pull out the most important insights, the surprising truths, moving beyond just basic translation.
Getting into the nuances, how people are described, the professional landscape.
Precisely. And this source shows brilliantly how just a small everyday interaction can unlock so much broader understanding of the society.
It really does.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We've got this core dialogue that kicks us off. We're basically dropping into a conversation between two colleagues, Lisa and Hannah, in an Indonesian office.
Right.
And Lisa starts off pretty simply, just observing that their company recruited some new employees.
And Hannah, who seems to have the inside scoop, she quickly updates Lisa, tells her there are actually 3 new ones, fresh graduates, all in accounting.
Ah, okay.
And apparently Mr. Joko introduced them last week.
Which Lisa missed. Sounds like. But she's already formed an impression, hasn't she? She tells Hannah, I think one girl with long hair is very cute. She seems timid and introverted.
Yeah, that's her first take. But this is where it gets interesting, that first little twist. Because Hannah immediately counters that impression.
How so?
She says, on the contrary, pretty direct. She is really fun and talkative. We laugh when we hear her funny experiences.
Wow, okay, so the complete opposite of Lisa's impression.
Exactly. It's a pretty clear contradiction.
And Lisa's follow-up question is just classic office chat, isn't it? Really? Is she already married?
Yeah. And Hannah's answer is just as direct. Yes, she's already married.
So what's really fascinating here, beyond just the gossip, is how this interaction immediately flags something universal.
You mean how first impressions can be way off?
Exactly. And incredibly misleading sometimes.
Yeah.
But here it's framed perfectly within that Indonesian office setting. It gives you this great relatable entry point into everyday interactions there.
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we misjudge people right off the bat?
All the time, probably. It's a great setup. So we've got this intriguing interaction, and it's built obviously on language.
Right.
So let's shift focus now to the actual vocabulary used. Because understanding these words, it's not just about translation, is it?
No, not at all. It's about gaining the ability to actually, express yourself properly and engage in a real conversation.
Okay, so we've got some core words here. Perusahaan.
Company.
Baru.
Ambo.
Kenalkan.
To introduce.
Pemalu.
Timid, like Lisa first thought.
Right. And sebaliknya.
On the contrary, Hannah's correction word.
Okay. Menyenangkan.
Fun. That's how Hannah described the coworker
Pengalaman.
experience, as in her funny experiences.
And finally, manika.
Married. The big question Lisa had.
Okay, so some of those seem straightforward, but let's dive a bit deeper. Like sebaliknya. You said it means contrarily?
Yeah, and it's more than just like a dictionary definition. The source points out this pattern. Tidak sebaliknya. So not on the contrary.
Ah, I see. So it's a specific structure for negating something and offering the truth.
Exactly. The example given is great. Dia tidak bodoh, sebaliknya dia sangat pandai. He is not dumb. Contrarily, he is very smart.
Okay, so that tells you something about communication style too, maybe. Like direct correction is okay.
Seems that way, yeah. When a misunderstanding needs clearing up, this structure provides a clear way to do it.
Interesting. What about menyenangkan? Fun or exciting?
Right. Hana used it for the coworker. The source gives hari-hari yang menyenangkan, fun days, but it also links it to related words. Like gembira, which is more like glad, and senang, meaning delighted, as in senang bertemu denganmu, delighted to see you.
So it shows there's like a spectrum of positive feelings you can express in Indonesian, not just one word for happy or fun.
Precisely. Different shades of meaning for enjoyment and pleasantness.
Makes sense. And then menikah, married.
Oh,
that came up very directly.
it did. And the source explains it's an adjective married, and its root word is nikah, the infinitive, like to marry.
Okay.
But what's culturally quite interesting is how you get the noun pernikahan, meaning wedding, by adding the paren particle.
So nikah is the state, but pernikahan is the event.
Pretty much, yeah. It highlights that marriage isn't just a status. Pernikahan refers to the whole celebration, the social event, which is often a big deal in Indonesia.
Right. The example was Akara pernikahannya sangat meriah. The wedding celebration is very festive.
Exactly. And then the dialogue example. Dia telah menikah sejak 3 tahun yang lalu. He has been married for 3 years, using menikah as the adjective.
So really, getting these words and their nuances, it's not just about grammar drills.
Not at all. It's about getting the keys to unlock cultural doorways, being able to express complex ideas, actually participate.
Yeah, building that linguistic toolkit, whether you're, navigating a new culture or just expanding your own skills.
Exactly.
Okay, so from individual words, let's zoom in on how they combine. Because the source really puts a spotlight on the grammar of describing people. Super useful stuff.
Absolutely. And the key phrase we already heard in that dialogue was dia kelihatan, pemalu, dan pendiam.
She seems timid and introverted.
Right. And that phrase gives us the core pattern for describing someone based on how they appear initially, your first impression.
Which pattern is that?
It's subject plus kelihatan plus adjective. Literally subject plus seem plus adjective.
Kelihatan means seem. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a really insightful way to phrase it, isn't it? Because using seem immediately kind of flags that what you're seeing might not be the full picture.
Good point. It builds in that possibility of being wrong, like Lisa was.
Exactly. And the examples the source gives really hammer this home. Like, dia kelihatan sombong dan kasar, tetapi setelah mengenalnya, dia orang yang ramah. He seemed arrogant and rude, but after getting to know him, he's a friendly guy.
Okay, there's that contrast again.
Yep. Or, anak baru itu kelihatan pemalas, tetapi dia sangat pintar. The new kid seemed lazy, but he is very clever.
So that idea of, deceptive first impressions just keeps popping up. It feels like a central theme woven into the language itself.
I think so too. It helps you process those human interactions where things aren't always as they first appear.
And the source gives lists of adjectives too, right? Positive and negative ones.
It does, yeah. Really useful lists. On the negative side, you've got things like sombong for arrogant, pemalas for lazy, maybe pelit for stingy, pembohang for a liar.
Okay.
And on the positive side, words like rama for friendly, pekerja for hardworking, jujur for honest, dermawan for generous.
So these aren't just vocabulary lists, are they? They kind of give you a feel for the traits that are commonly maybe noticed and talked about in that context.
That's a good way to put it. They offer a lens into what qualities are sort of foregrounded in social and professional descriptions there.
Okay, practical question then. If you want to ask what someone's like, personality-wise, how do you phrase that?
Good one. The standard question is orangnya seperti apa?
Meaning?
Literally like the person. What are they like? Or simply, what is Hesha like?
Okay, orangnya seperti apa, and how would you answer that?
The typical reply pattern is di orang yang plus adjective. So Hesha is plus adjective plus person.
Gotcha. So the example given was about Mr. Joko.
Right. Pak Joko orangnya seperti apa? What's Mr. Joko like? And they answer, Pak Joko orang yang dermawan dan mudah bergaul.
Mr. Joko is a generous and easygoing person.
Exactly. It's a fairly simple structure, but it's really the gateway to understanding someone beyond just that surface impression.
Yeah, and that's why this grammar bit isn't just, for language nerds.
Definitely not.
It's like a template for understanding how a culture categorizes personality, which is invaluable for any cross-cultural stuff, whether it's personal or professional. Helps you talk about those soft skills. Right on. Okay, so we've gone from dialogue to words to grammar. Let's broaden the scope now. Let's dive into some of those fascinating cultural insights the sources give us about Indonesia's workforce.
Yeah, this part adds another really interesting layer. The source highlights that fresh graduates, like the new hires in the accounting department in our dialogue, they actually play a pretty significant role in the world of work there.
Okay, how so? Does it give numbers?
It does provide some context with statistics, specifically from February 2013. Now, obviously, numbers change, but these give a good baseline picture.
Fair enough. What did they show back then?
Well, the population aged 15 and above was huge, 175 million people, a massive potential workforce.
Yeah.
And the labor force participation rate was quite high, 69.21%.
Meaning almost 70% of working age people were either working or looking for work.
Exactly, a very engaged population. And while, it's 2013 data, it paints a picture of the general structure and trends that likely have some continuity.
Okay. And where were people working? Which sectors were dominant?
Well, agriculture, forestry, hunting, and fishery collectively accounted for about 35% of the labor force.
Still a huge chunk in primary industries then.
Absolutely, shows their continued importance. But the second biggest chunk, around 22%, was in wholesale and retail trade, restaurants, and hotels.
Okay, so a strong consumer and service sector alongside agriculture.
Right. It indicates a pretty vibrant part of the economy, too.
What about employment status? Like, are most people employees or self-employed?
Interesting breakdown there. Around 36% were formal employees. But get this, those who were self-employed, plus those self-employed but assisted by family or temporary help, that group totaled about 34%.
Wow, almost as many as formal employees.
Yeah. It really points to a very strong entrepreneurial streak, wouldn't you say? And a significant informal sector. That's crucial context if you're looking at the economy beyond just like big company payrolls.
Definitely. Now, the source also mentioned something about education and getting jobs, right? That seemed quite stark.
It really was. It showed a clear link. People with diploma degrees had the highest rate of finding jobs, a staggering 97%.
97%. That's incredibly high.
It is. And conversely, the group with the highest percentage of unemployment within the labor force, senior high school graduates.
So that really underlines the tangible value of getting that specific vocational or diploma level education in that job market.
Absolutely. It sends a very clear signal about which educational pathways were, at least at that time, most effectively leading to employment.
And for you, the listener, having this kind of rapid fact-based insight into the Indonesian labor market, it's critical context, isn't it?
For sure. If you're thinking about business ventures, partnerships, or even just interacting professionally with people from Indonesia.
Yeah, it highlights not just who's working where, but also the real world value placed on specific types of education there. Super interesting.
Definitely.
So let's try and wrap this up. What does this all mean? We started with what seemed like a simple office chat between Lisa and Hannah.
Yeah, about a new coworker.
Then we peeled back the layers. We looked at the rich vocabulary, the grammatical structures that let you describe people with nuance.
Especially that idea of seeming versus being.
Right. And from there, we zoomed out to see how these individual interactions and ways of speaking fit into the much bigger picture.
The whole tapestry of Indonesia's workforce and its economic landscape, complete with some pretty revealing stats.
It's just a prime example, I think, of how even a seemingly small piece of source material, like a beginner language lesson, can unlock a genuinely deep understanding if you dig into it.
It really is. And this whole journey, starting from that possibly wrong first impression Lisa had, it raises a bigger question for all of us, doesn't it? Well, if first impressions can be so misleading, whether it's judging a person in the office, or maybe how we view an entire workforce or economy based on surface level stuff, then how much more could we really gain in any area by taking the time to actually deep dive into the nuances instead of just, skimming the surface?
That's definitely something to mull over. How much are we missing by not digging deeper?
Exactly. Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.